creative company is so delicious, and the creative process is one of my favorite subjects. How humans can create something out of nothing is wildly exciting to me. And one of the best ways I love to spend my time is writing and recording my songs. Wytse Gerichhausen is the founder, musician, fantastic engineer behind Wytse Studios. You know him from YouTube, maybe you visited his website. Fantastic information on all things to do with recording, plugins, gear, latest reviews. He's addressing the questions that we have and putting it into very simple terms, but scientific and acoustic terms as well. You learn a lot from Wytse. What a cool thing to get to talk to him today. Wytse!
Hey.
Hey, hello!
Hey.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
I am good. It is so cool of you to hop on this chat with me. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem. Do you
Go
need
ahead.
me to record something on my side, or is this all okay as it is?
This is great. Yeah, this is fine.
Okay, cool.
Good enough for rock and roll. Close enough for jazz.
Is that a saying?
That's what we say at Berkeley a lot.
Oh, really? Awesome.
I like the sound of your mic. That sounds really good.
Yeah, this is the Pure Tube from Lewitt.
All right.
Yeah.
Nice. I've got one over me head.
Oh, okay. You also have an external microphone. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I wrote to you in 2020, and it was so cool of you to write me back, and I thought it'd be so cool to meet you. I just love what you're doing on YouTube. I love your passion. I love the music you teach us about and all the sound and the effects and the gear and when did this all start for you?
Wow. The YouTube or the passion?
No, just your passion for music and gear and all that, because you seem like such a young guy.
I think I was born with it.
I think I was too, really.
I was born with it. It's a bit in the family. It came from my granddad. Started it. One of my uncles was also doing it. Audio stuff.
Really?
Yeah, not on a professional level, but on like semi-pro, amateur semi-pro level.
Recording or live sound?
Live sound. A lot of sound. What is 100-volt systems? Those type of things.
So it's in your DNA a bit.
Yeah, definitely. And one of the mistakes my parents made, or maybe not mistakes, is instead of taking us to daycare, so me and my sister, they dropped us off at my grandparents. So I always saw my granddad doing it. It was his hobby, but I always, I just rolled into it.
He was doing live sound at his house or something?
No, yeah, he actually took me on the jobs and stuff. So
Oh, okay.
he took me with him, and he was always, doing the maintenance and stuff, of course, at home. So I was always like, I always asked the question, "What are you doing?" He got so annoyed by that question.
How old were you then?
I don't know. I think 5 or 6 years old or something.
That's so cool.
Like I could barely speak and walk. Like, yeah.
I'm sure you were walking by 5.
But I don't know. When do people start walking? I don't know.
I was speaking in complete sentences before I was 1.
Oh wow!
And my brother was walking before he was 1. So
here's a cool little what is it? A little fact that nobody wants to hear. I heard it from my mom. I never crawled. I started walking immediately. Like that was my thing. There wasn't anything in between. It was just not being able to move at all and walking. Like there wasn't.
That is really cool. I've never heard that before.
Yeah.
That just shows you how eager and ready you were to just get it on.
Probably, I don't know. The only the only reason I would crawl is to crawl to something to pull myself up so that I could walk again. Like that was.
That
like
is cool.
Efficiency.
That shows a lot of interesting intelligence, I think.
I don't know.
Who's on your mug there?
It's a Minnie Mouse.
I thought so.
And Mickey. We also have Mickey on the other side.
Oh, very good.
Yeah.
I've got
Yeah.
Beatles in color all around.
Oh, I should have gotten my Beatles mug as well. Then we would match up.
You like the Beatles, do you?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. For multiple reasons. Like first of all, I like the music, but oh, cool. Wow, wow.
This one I made, it's so weird.
Yeah, but weird stuff is cooler. I mean, generic stuff is already out there.
How old were you when you got into the Beatles?
I think a lot older actually. I think when the whole recording and music studio stuff became more serious, that's when I really discovered the Beatles. So I knew about the music and stuff, and I knew how special it was when I really started with music recording. That was the
Yeah.
um because a lot of recording techniques that we're still using today were basically invented by the Beatles or by the people around the Beatles. Like,
Absolutely.
yeah, yeah, and it was such a special thing. Like I've visited Abbey Road
Me too.
at the beginning of this year,
Oh, wow.
and everything came together there. Like it was like I've been reading so much about Abbey Road, the Beatles, and that kind of stuff, and then all of a sudden standing there, it's unbelievable.
And did you get to go in?
Yeah. I got to go in. Yeah,
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 because in 2019 was the first time they had like opened their doors in like 63 years or 75 years or something. And the two guys that wrote the big Beatles recording book was doing a presentation with Ken Scott, and
yeah.
I went to the event like 4 times over a weekend. So I went to London for the weekend from Massachusetts.
And just going there 4 times to the same seminar, the
The
same.
same seminar, just to be inside. And then one of the guards took a liking to me, and he's like, psh, psh, come here, come here. And he opened up Studio One and said, here's the big place where they did All You Need Is Love and everything. And I'm like, whoa, you know, because
Yeah,
the room is gigantic.
yeah. No, I just knew someone that works there, so
Oh, that's sweet.
and
That's even
he
better.
showed me around. So yeah, yeah.
That's
The
fantastic.
studio one over there is like unbelievably like how big that room is.
Yes,
The
yes,
size is just like Studio 2 is already big, but Sound Vision also has same
right.
dimension room. So I will sounds arrogant, but I'm used to those type of rooms. But then Studio 1 is like 2 times, 2.5 times that. I don't know. It's so big.
And three is tiny, but you know, they had all the studios going at different times in different albums, so it was pretty
Yeah,
exciting. And how small the canteen was that they hung out in so often.
yeah.
It's like,
Yeah,
can't imagine the four of them just sitting around this little table, like la la la.
yeah. Well, what I also remember from that visit is also like there were just like 3 Fairchilds just standing in the hallway somewhere. Like just it's just furniture for them. Like it's,
Right. But you know, Paul still pops in and does stuff there, you know,
yeah,
so yeah,
yeah, true, yeah, and why not? I mean,
why not? It's
yeah.
home, one of his homes. Did you see his house too over there on Cavendish Avenue?
Um, I don't think we went to his house. We went to to the first office. Um,
Okay.
I think the first Apple recording um
Office.
office, and it was more like we were just walking around in London, and all of a sudden, oh wait, it was over here. Like it's like we weren't planning on that.
Oh,
But
nice.
there's so much to see there. I think I need to go back to London another time to check out the rest of the stuff.
I know, yeah, it's pretty special, and their energy and their passion, I feel like it's still in the air. It's pretty exciting to
Yeah,
drive around there.
yeah, and there's some magic or something around it. I don't know how to describe it differently. There's some,
I think we bring a lot of it because, you know, I guess some people would argue that there's energy that actually hangs out in places, but I think mostly it's in the people that go there and who are already there.
yeah,
I found it magical too. Yeah, absolutely.
yeah. It's such and even like not just being there, you can feel the magic, but also the um the Beatles itself for me still feel like some mythical a mythical story or something. It feels to me like whenever I read about it, it's there's so much magic in there, or however to describe it.
Yeah.
Sounds very spiritual, but yeah,
I've always felt really thankful that I was on the planet when all four of them were here. It's a pretty
yeah,
pretty special time.
Yeah, I wasn't,
That's what I was
unfortunately.
guessing.
Yeah. Or maybe I was, but not in this body. Who knows?
Yes, that's
I don't
true.
know.
It's true. Or as they say, simultaneous lives where we're living in different dimensions at the same time. Uh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Whoa. Yeah. That's why you work at Berkeley.
Right. What do you mean? Just to think of all these crazy things.
Yeah. No, this goes a bit far. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Stainless living in multiple dimensions.
Mm.
Never thought about that.
Well, yeah, I love these teachers. Esther Hicks teaches the teachings of Abraham Hicks on YouTube, and they say that the soul is so big that sometimes it could be focused in all kinds of different places, maybe even on different planets, or, that there's only a part of us focused here, being Wytse and Lauren, and some of us are focused someplace else. I'm like, what? Other
Oh,
parts of us,
wow.
perhaps.
Yeah.
Since I'm only conscious of this one, this is the only one I have to sort of maintain or have some kind of semblance of try to control.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now,
Wow.
so your grandfather awoke in this love of electronics, gear, microphones, speakers, cables. Did you have any official training? Did you go to college for any of this stuff?
It's not called college in the Netherlands. It's like the
Secondary school or
yeah, it's a secondary school. So after all the um
basic rubbish?
all the schools you have to do from the government. Uh, After that, you can choose a school. It's a 4-year school, and it was called Stage and Event Technology.
Ooh,
And there was a big studio part in the one that I chose. And
smart man.
the last year, I did the audio specialization. So
Wow.
yeah,
Did that include electronics too?
not as much as I would have wanted.
Because it
So
seems like you know a lot of that stuff too.
yeah, that's really self-taught. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, and that's just because I always liked electronics and soldering and
Yeah.
creating things. Like I'm now in the process of automating my own house, and constantly when I buy an off-the-shelf sensor for something, I'm like, no, this is not good enough, and I just create my own a circuit with the sensors that I need. Put an ESP82. What is it again? 8266 on there. Connected with Wi-Fi. Create a script for it so that it works in the way that I want it to work.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a hobby.
That's a really cool hobby. What's going to happen in the house then? What are you going to have control over?
I basically want the house to run itself.
Change the air filters.
Yeah.
Do
Where
the
the robot
laundry.
arm coming out of the wall, and then like doing the laundry. No,
Cook
no,
my dinner so it's ready when I walk home.
no. So it started with that the landlord said to me that I was using a lot of gas. So we have gas heated homes in the Netherlands.
Okay.
So I have in-floor heating, which is heated by gas, by natural gas.
Wow.
And and in Holland it's actually a network of pipes. So you just get it out of the wall. And he said to me, like, you're using a lot of it. And I said, yeah, but it's an issue because it's, radiant heating. The floor is and it takes a lot of time to heat that up. So it's difficult. And the thermostat, and I was a little bit frustrated, but I was like, okay, I'll fix this. And I was like, I need a thermostat that can be programmable, so that it heats up the house 2 hours before I get home, and also quits early because it will radiate for a longer time.
Wow.
And I was searching for thermostats. They were very expensive, and I was and constantly when I was looking up the features, it was either cloud connected, needed a subscription or whatever. And I was like, I'll do this differently, and that's where it started. And now it basically triggers on my GPS location, and it also knows that if I'm going to my girlfriend, because we're not living together, if I'm going to my girlfriend, it knows that it shouldn't heat the house and should stop the schedule. And
You made it do that. You made it follow your GPS.
Yeah. You know, it is a basic, like, Home Assistant is the basic software, what it's called, but you need to
Okay.
program automations yourself.
Right.
And there's always a caveat with every single thing that I'm doing. It's like, oh, but there's always an exception to the rules that I'm writing. One of the things is sometimes I'm walking out of my house and there's somebody else in my house, and then all the lights turn off and everything turns off, and the robot vacuum starts. The whole circus starts, and now I've made it into a notification that gets sent to me that I can then confirm or deny, so that it doesn't switch immediately. And if I ignore the notification, it will switch, but at a later time. And yeah.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
I thought you meant that you were imagining it doing cooler things than it was able to, but it sounds like it's keeping up with you quite well.
Yeah. Right now it is. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know where the rabbit hole ends. Like,
Well, I think it doesn't end, and I think that's why curiosity is a great longevity maker. I think without that curiosity, we wouldn't have had the Beatles, and certainly without our own curiosity, we wouldn't even have our own reasons to get out of bed. Like, it's just really nice to have things
yeah,
excited about, and to have to keep dreaming them and reinventing them. Like, being 63 now, I notice even within the realm of writing and recording, which I've always loved doing, I have to find new ways either into the creative process or how to think about it, because some of the things are worn out in a way, like what I thought was going to happen or what I thought was the way it was. It's getting broader and things are getting better. And especially with the gear becoming more and more affordable to consumers, it's just getting more and more exciting to be us. So there's always some piece of gear or plug-in to get in deeper and understand, clearer
yeah,
way.
yeah. And it's also what I also like to do is challenge the status quo. Maybe that's the
Yep.
correct way of saying it. But like, there's a lot of thought patterns that we all have, have been engraved in the industry.
Hmm.
And thought patterns for like how a plugin should be, or thought pattern for how a track should sound,
Mm-hmm.
uh, arrangement. Like there's so much, and I'm always like, okay, but who said that it should be that way?
I
Like,
know.
yeah, and the same thing is with what I find fascinating. The creative side has these challenges, but the engineering side as well. And what I've discovered with audio is that the more you know, the more you don't know. It's literally a thing with audio. Like, as
Absolutely.
soon as you uncover another thing in audio, like I'm diving really deep at the moment into aliasing, distortion, and oversampling, and like I learned one thing, and all of a sudden I realized that I don't know 9 other things. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and then when I know the 9 other things, I need to learn 99 other things. Like, it's it's so crazy, and on one side, it sometimes makes me now understand why products are the way they are in a limited way. And on the other hand, it also frustrates me. Like, hey, if I can figure this out, why do people that actually should know this and should be able to figure this out don't figure this out? Like,
I know.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, sometimes I think they just want to keep building in the built-in obsolescence so that we keep buying more.
yeah.
Sometimes I think it's because they're just too cheap. They just don't want to give us the good stuff or whatever. They can't get it to work for everybody.
I actually had that with my former converter setup. I'm not going to say the brand names because I don't want to make this controversial or something. But my former converter setup, the power supplies were failing from those units,
Oh
one
wow.
after the other, and I didn't have time back then to dive in there. So I brought it to a guy that I know that could do the maintenance and could get it back up and running pretty quickly. And he opened it up, like a very experienced guy. Like, the guy's, I think, 70 years old,
Mm.
and has been doing audio gear maintenance ever since. Like, he has so much experience in, and he has soldered consoles and he worked on so many things. And he opened up the unit, and the capacitors were broken, gone.
Wow.
Not necessarily exploded, but and he replaced them with like very good quality capacitors, like I think Nichicon or Philips or whatever, like good brand capacitors. And he said, like, I don't understand why they design these units like this. They run hot, so they need to be able to those components need to be able to survive that heat. And I said, yeah, maybe they do it because it's cheaper. And he answered to me like, yeah, but there's like 5 cents of difference between the two different components. So like capacitors and stuff, and that's something the quality of the capacitors has gone up since, like if you look at vintage equipment, whenever I need to do recapping on it, they used tantalum capacitors back in the days because they were very expensive, but they had certain specifications that they couldn't get from an electrolyte capacitor. Wow. And nowadays you can just get a cheap electrolyte capacitor that already has better specifications than that tantalum capacitor. Wow. And I and that's because the manufacturing has become so much better and so much easier to do because of innovation. Anyway, the capacitors now, like there isn't a lot of price difference between the poorest quality and the utmost, like Nichicon Gold Audio Standard whatever capacitors. There is a bit of difference, but not a lot. And I literally emailed that brand, being a little pissed, like, hey, why are you putting so much cheap components in these converters? Like, you know that they're going to fail after 2 or 3 years, just outside of the warranty. They didn't want to give me warranty. And I was just like very upset about that because like I have a contact that can replace that, or I can do it myself. But a lot of people don't have those contacts. So
exactly,
it would become e-waste. Why?
Yeah.
Like we have a big waste problem. We have a whole, like the whole planet is in panic mode, basically. The nature is in panic mode, and we're doing this.
Yeah.
Never understood it. And even worse is with devices that are still very well, the hardware is still good, but the software is just not supported anymore. I have a switch over here, data center switch for my audio AVB switching. And I needed a new firmware for that. And they said, yeah, but you don't have a certain... I bought it secondhand. And because of that, I couldn't get a new firmware for that switch. And I said, yeah, but without that firmware, I cannot use this switch and I need to throw it away. So you're just saying to me like, hey, make e-waste out of it while it's a perfectly fine working switch with just the wrong firmware.
Exactly. That was like Tascam with the 1884. I had that as a controller. And it was like a big hunk of junk all of a sudden because they wouldn't update the software to work with the latest version of Logic back in whenever that was.
Yeah.
It's just crazy.
Yeah. Yes. And the like for gear selection, like if I need to select gear for the studio, that's really one of the things that I really look at. Like software support, like what's the reputation?
Yeah.
From a manufacturer.
Because I've been burned before. It's like if you keep doing all the updates that they recommend for your computer and for all the plugins, all of a sudden I'm on the phone with Apple and they're saying, well, you're trying to run your MacBook Pro at 300 CPU. You need a new Mac. And it's like, it was fine till I did all these updates. Like, so then I thought, okay, the next Mac, don't do the updates. So then I have to take it offline.
Yeah.
And I made the big mistake just last week where I unplugged my iLock too to put it in a different USB slot, and everything went haywire. Like all the plugins are saying, where is it? You have no authorization. You have to get back online. And now every single plugin is still, whether I'm online or offline, they're all going nuts. And then my Apollo stopped. I have 2 Apollos, and one of them loses its connection and the Mac just shuts down, and I'm going, like, am I just...
You have an iLock?
Yeah. Wow. Or it's at the same time that one of the Apollos is deciding to quit on me. But when I talked to Vintage King Audio, one of the guys there was saying, no, it sounds like it's a bad Thunderbolt cable. So then the plot thickened even further, because on Amazon, you can only get a Thunderbolt 3 cable. Well, my Apollos are older, so there must be only a Thunderbolt 1 or 2, which they don't make anymore. So I had to go to eBay, and everyone's got used ones, and it's like, but I don't even know if it's the cable or the adapter, and I don't know how to test those. And so maybe I'll just buy another cable, but I better buy a new one, because theirs might be, losing its youth too. I don't know, so I just got a new cable. At least my Apollo didn't drop yesterday in a session, but some of my plugins are not happy, and I still have to sort that whole thing out.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's a nightmare.
Absolutely.
That's really a nightmare. We have the same thing going on over here in a different studio, where we basically froze the system in time. So we said like, okay, we know what is working. We know
that's what I was trying
where it doesn't like to like where the bugs are. The bugs are acceptable and will never influence our working environment. And it's basically a Pro Tools 9 setup. Pro Tools 9.0.6, I think, is the software with the old MX cards on it. And what we did is we basically, because those things are becoming dirt cheap after a few years, we just bought a whole bunch of that stuff. Cables, cards, Mac Pros, everything. And we just have backup systems. We can just swap out cards or swap out parts and keep the system running. And it's now running 13, 14 years.
Oh, that's cool, because you mean the MacBooks or the older ones you can get much cheaper. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a Mac Pro, by the way. Mac Pro system with all the and
yeah. So this is the studio with George.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and the fun thing about it is that it's so stable that people are surprised by it. Like sometimes people all of a sudden at the end of the day realize, literally at the end of session after like a 9 or 10 hour session, they realize like, oh, you didn't need any reboots or any problems. Like everything just works. We're like, yeah, as it's supposed to, but it's like
magic.
Yeah. No, we just know the system very well. So yeah.
I have that Mac over there sitting on 2 different fans, because if I unplug them when I do vocals, if it gets too hot and I forget to plug it back in, even the Mac starts going crazy and losing its mind and freezing and painting things weird.
I had such a laptop as well, which is also weird that Apple ever made it like that. Like, and a brand like the Apple brand, for me, I love the machines they make, but they're sometimes so difficult to understand. The MacBook, I think you have like a 2019 an Intel MacBook, I think.
Yeah, me too.
I switched to Apple Silicon, but yours should be Intel if it has temperature problems, because I had a 2019 MacBook. And that one also, like, if you didn't cool it correctly, I actually had an app on there to enable the fans sooner. Because it will just clock down the CPU, because it's things like, I'm too hot. And I'm like, Apple, why did you make it like this? Why did you give me a MacBook Pro with an i9 processor with not enough cooling?
Yes.
Why? Why do they do that? I know why. I have an assumption of why. Because they were working on Apple Silicon. And if those machines were working flawlessly and perfect, if they would introduce Apple Silicon, it wouldn't be that much of an upgrade. Like, I think that's the reason.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's too crazy.
Yeah, it's yeah.
Now, what about the music itself? Do you make your own noise? Do you play instruments or compose?
Well, if I play an instrument, it will sound like noise. Yeah.
Look around, I'm making some noise. That's the Teddy tune I always refer to.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah. I play a little bit of saxophone.
Oh, cool.
I started actually in a marching band, playing the saxophone, and I haven't played it for 8 years or something. So, not sure what the sound will be if it gets out of there. But the thing is just like I was basically at Siri is also listening. I was basically at a split point at a certain point. Like I could choose like, okay, music production or music engineering.
Mm.
I preferred engineering, but I also realized that engineering was there were a lot less people doing engineering compared to music production. Like everybody with a laptop likes to produce music, and not and they can produce music. And when it comes to engineering, it gets more difficult pretty quickly. So I was like, okay, I'm going to focus fully
More scientific.
on ish, yeah. I mean, there's science and creativity in mixing. I think that balance there is such a weird balance because it's so much scientific and technical stuff, and there's so much creativity in there that it's sometimes difficult to also to explain to people. Because
Yes.
so people ask me like, why do you make a certain setting on an EQ? And I'm like, I cannot explain that. I literally cannot explain that.
Well, why do you use so much pepper or
Yeah.
ginger? It's the same. You know?
Yeah. That's a good comparison. Yeah.
I
No,
used to have a big Studio Master Track Mix 32 mixer and
yeah.
a half-inch 8-track, and then I had 4 ADATs, so I had 32 channels in and out with that. And it seemed to be much broader strokes that I was able to work. And of course, I was using a mastering engineer because at the time, everything was being mastered to a big U-matic cassette that none of us had those machines.
Yeah.
And it was before we were all making CDs ourselves, and they had to make the glass master and all that sort of jazz. But that's why that video you had done about the whole frequency analyzer with mastering some of the projects you had been getting, where you had target numbers of like, let's not peak more than minus 24 in the low end, and mid-range minus 36, and and I just thought that's exactly the problem. I think like you hit it on the head. That was so helpful, and
it was actually I stole that idea from one of my friends. So
good.
Yeah,
I found it very helpful because if we are doing our own mastering and we're not using isotope where everything happens for you, as I'm trying to learn and do things better and stuff, I'm realizing I was blowing things up in certain frequency ranges, and it wasn't being transferred or translated by my speakers. So it's like it was helpful to see it and helpful to tame it, and it made sense as to why my car was like blowing up.
Yeah. Yeah, and definitely when it comes to the sub frequencies, it's very it could be very helpful to use an analyzer to just check like, hey, are we on point? Is it too much? Is it too little? Like,
yes.
Yeah.
And I had so many engineers say to me, I don't know one engineer who does that. And I thought, yeah, because you guys never do your own mastering.
Yeah.
This is why they don't have to think about it. So they can like push any analog console, throw things in the red, be as cool as they want to be. And the mastering engineer goes, well, the album will not play. It'll just keep jumping out of the grooves if we allow this. So they just fix everything for them and they don't even realize it.
Yeah. Yeah. For me, like I've always learned to master my own stuff. It started out of necessity. So
yes,
and
it started out of necessity for me.
Yeah. That's because why did it start for you out of necessity?
I was 9 years old, playing guitar, and had one since I was 2, a plastic guitar, and just wanted to write my own songs. Started writing songs at 10 years old, and my dad had little tape recorders and like little reel-to-reels and little boxes and stuff.
Yeah.
I have pictures I could share, but it was like, little reel-to-reels and then little cassette decks and all these kinds of things. And it was just so much fun to play with them that I knew I was just writing way too many songs to then go get studio time. I'm a young kid. I don't have the money for studios. And I didn't have anybody interested in my work saying, wow, you write cool songs, let's produce you or set up a budget. So it was like, I love the idea of making that sound painting. How can I learn more about this? And when I was 17, a TIAC 2340 was being sold at a little music store. And I said to my dad, I need to use $600 of my money and buy this because it just came down from like $1,400.
Yeah.
And he's going, let me go see if this thing is worth it, And that's how it all started. And I was plugging guitars and mics directly into the tape deck. I didn't have a mixer. I had a little AX20 TIAC box that was left, right, or center for each of the 4 channels to get it to go down to cassettes. And before that, I was bouncing back and forth to cassettes.
Yeah.
So to me, to hear my ideas and to be able to play those recordings for other people so they could hear that I had another guitar idea or 15 vocal idea, whatever it was. It was really interesting to be able to play them and show them for them.
And I think also the method you used, which is, back then there wasn't anything else, but
No.
create a lot of, like, you learn to make decisions, you learn to,
Yes.
yeah, you learn to be very creative with the limited resources.
Right.
Yeah. That's what I like about analog gear.
Yeah, you have to decide some things and be tasty about it up front in a way.
Yeah. Oh,
That was a funny thing.
those things could be worth a fortune right now.
I know, and there's so many audio people that would love to play with these things. I've even written to Tascam a few times. This was a pretty big thing. It was like 9 inches high and like the size of, real deep. And it sat, that's looking down on it on its back. Of course, everybody had these things. In college, me and my roommate would always bring this to our project band so that we could hear our 4-horn charts. And the teacher would always call us the recording twins. And then how many demos do I have of thousands and thousands of songs on this thing? And it's the only version of those songs I have written. It's like I have to get to all of those and make recordings of them. That was the 2340 with the 7.5-inch reels, the 4-track reel-to-reel, 1/4-inch tape. And then from that it came to the 1/2-inch 8-track that I made my first album on.
Yeah.
And so now I have the MS-16. I have a 16-track 1-inch.
Yeah.
Which is pretty cool.
Oh, yeah.
This guy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's behind me over there. And
do you use it to record them or just for the color?
A little both.
Okay.
Both. It's fun. I mean, I have the option here. That's what's kind of weird about my setup. I got this mixer maybe about 1.5 years ago. So on this side, it's like I could be all analog, or on that side, I could be all in the box, but I could be hybrid too. And I've made my life so complicated that I'm like, okay, so what are you trying to do now? Put out more records and write more songs, or learn about gear, or because now there's so many ways in and out that I don't know, sometimes it's working and sometimes it isn't, because it's not even that they're not in sync. It's the I was told it was the processing time of digitizing back and forth from analog to digital that's different processing time in the different converters.
Oh. Oh, so you're getting misalignment then, or? Sometimes.
But then I noticed if I put a delay plug-in on just one channel on one Apollo at like 71.9 milliseconds, everything lines up. I thought I had to do it for each individual channel, but it's
71.9 milliseconds?
Yes.
That's a lot of delay.
That's a lot.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Oh, yeah. So
I don't know.
With those complex setups, also like you have a lot of complex analog routing going on there then as well.
Probably. Yeah. Everything is makeshift because I'm just figuring things out on my own, and I'm certainly probably doing a lot of things weird.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if it's weird. What are the things that I'm starting to do? No, I don't know if it's ineffective. It's more like if I would put every single thing that I have in my studio on my patch bay, that doesn't make things easier necessarily.
I've just realized that.
Yeah,
I want everything ready to go, and there's no way to have it ready to go. So that's my question: is how do I want things to be so that I don't have to all this stuff?
We have actually at George rebuilt part of his studio last year, so new furniture and new stuff, and he basically removed the patch bay from his studio.
Really?
Yeah, he's now doing hard patched signal change. Yeah, I think only for his mastering setup he has a what is it called? From SPL, the Hermes, whatever. Hermes. Yeah. I'm not native English. He has that thing to be able to change the mastering chain and parallel stuff.
Wow.
And but his mixing chain, as far as I know, is all hard patched.
But he's doing mostly tracking and mastering. So his
Yeah,
tracking.
tracking, mixing, and mastering. Yeah.
Okay, but he still needs to patch for some of that, or no? He's decided this is how we're going to track forever. This is how
Tracking,
we're going to
no
mix.
tracking. You can choose preamps. So you have the tie lines from the recording room where you can choose preamps.
Okay,
From there, it's all hard patched.
nice.
Yeah.
So he has a limited amount of preamps or something. Like he'll just choose, and these are the ones that go to those inputs.
Yeah, but also for convenience. So there are multiple what is it, stage boxes and stuff, and
Right.
sometimes you have certain stage box over there or over there. So it's not necessarily the amount of preamps, because I don't know how much there are. There are a lot, like a lot. But it's more the convenience to patch the signals from the
Yeah,
recording rooms, but that's the only patch bay that's in there. Like line level patch is not happening.
that's really cool.
Yeah.
I have so many things in the patch bay that were normal to the I/O plugin options, so that I could use different hardware that way.
Yeah.
Now, do you want it to be like that, or do you want your mixer to be there? You know, like it's so lovely that the mixer just goes 16 tracks right into the tape deck and 16 back. But
Yeah.
now I'm getting 16 ADAT back because I have those converters, those Aphex 141B converters that do the ADAT to the mixer.
Yeah.
Like I didn't realize when I was listening on the mixer, I did a whole video of the hybrid mixing trying to get the audience to work. I had all the channels plugged in and it was all, everything was open. I'm like, there's no signal. Why? I'm like, oh, you have to convert it back to analog. Oh.
Yeah. 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 Those, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So
That's
had to
also.
buy those little buggers.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. I don't know which is the best way, or the like most people would get a different desk and make the mixer the center. But like you're not even using a mixer and you've got the 24 channels. So where that's all hardwired back to your DAW?
You mean the 24 channels, the MCI, or
Your 2-inch tape, yeah.
yeah. There's so I do have a small Neumann console in here.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, and the
24 channels of it?
I don't know. I need. I have never counted them. Wow. Yes, 16 channels. But how I'm using the tape machine, I'm using it just for color.
Okay.
So there's no recording happening to tape. Also because I have no tie lines to the recording rooms over here. This is literally a mixing mastering room.
Yes.
So I'm just using it as a tape saturation plugin. And how I do that is it can be inserted on my subgroups of the console. So I have 8 subgroups. And I have 16 other channels, the ADDA, where it can also be inserted in between. And there's a relay box that when I turn on the tape machine, it inserts, it breaks up the signal chain and inserts the tape machine. And when I turn off the tape machine, it goes back to the original state. So
cool. So the audio is going through the machine, the tape is running.
Yeah.
And it's going from the record head to the play head. You're getting back the result of the play head, and it's getting the result of the tape. You don't even need to keep the audio that goes on.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And from a patching perspective, I can just work in my studio, and when I want to insert a tape on all my channels, I just turn on the tape machine, and all of a sudden I have the tape machine on there. Like I don't need to do any patching.
I love that.
Yeah, because if I would need to do patching, it's 24 channels in, 24 channels out. So that's 48 patch cables.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I use these patch cables. It's a Gilmeti is what it's called.
Right.
So this costs like €50 per cable. So that's already not cool. So you have 48 cables and 96 patch points that you need to make in order to use your tape machine. And when you don't want to use it, you have to pull them out all. So that's a lot of work. And what could happen is that I would just not use the tape machine then, because it takes too much time.
Right.
Yeah.
Gosh.
Yeah. So they, and that's a custom built box that we had made for this because yeah, it's
Who
just way
even thought
better.
of it? That's a really cool solution.
Yeah. Yeah. Just relays, just like signal type relays. The same. We literally bought the same relays as that Neumann is using in the consoles for the subgroup routing because we knew they were good because otherwise Neumann would have used them. So.
Wow. Wow. That's pretty cool stuff. And
Hmm.
like right over my head.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I think that's what makes it complicated too, because if I watch other people's videos and such, or email people to get some ideas, they'll say, you don't need that. You don't need to do this. You don't need a mixer. You don't need that. You don't need this. But they're not writing songs. They're not playing most of the instruments. They're not doing the arranging. They don't have to reach their piano and get to their drum set the way I do. They don't. They're not doing all those things. They're just mixing,
Yeah.
or they're just mastering,
Yeah.
or they're just tracking in a real studio.
Yeah. Yeah.
So when you're trying to do it all and you're setting it up yourself and you don't know what you're doing, woo!
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
I'm learning a lot all the time. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so. Yeah. And it's a lot. It's literally a lot in terms of like choices, in terms of the amount of equipment, the amount of complexity. It's a lot indeed. Yeah.
Yeah. And some days it's beautiful and flowing and I get a lot done. And some days I'm just pulling my hair out trying to get things to work and setting it up and thinking through the patch bay and all the stuff, what was going to be normaled and whatever. Sometimes I want to do it all over again. I go, you're nuts, because most of it's working. Right now you just have to get all your plugins back.
Yeah. Imagine the challenges that people have that design studios, for instance, broadcasting studios, where,
Right.
a broadcasting studio has to be capable of so many different configurations.
Yes.
And it all has to be, well, I wouldn't say easy because I think that's impossible, but it all has to be possible and people have to be able to keep an overview on all the different setups and stuff in there.
Mm-hmm.
Like I've seen broadcasting trucks that are so enormously complex.
Wow.
Like that would take, I think, half a year to a year of just planning on like, hey, where are we going to put all the cables? Where are the patch bays going to be? Where are the tie lines going to be?
Mm-hmm.
How are we going to connect this all together? And I think another half a year of testing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think with analog gear, you can assume a lot of things like, okay, if we connect this to this, it will work.
Right.
With digital gear, you can draw out, okay, in theory, all these different brand things should be able to talk together.
Yep, that's it.
But in practice, yeah, exactly. That face says enough. Yeah, yeah.
Well, even
Yeah.
even hardware, because in my Studio Master console in my other house a long time ago, there were 2 or 3 mic cables that were stuck in the XLR inputs, and I had to call a guy who repairs desks and stuff to remove those and give me new input jacks. At the time I wasn't redoing those myself. And when I called the the console company, they're like, no, we're up to spec. And the cable was like, no, we're up to spec. But of course the spring wouldn't let go. Somebody was not really up to spec. And the same thing has happened to me with different types of patch bays and patch cables.
Yeah.
So
yeah, patch base is a big issue indeed. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's a huge problem, like you say, with just the digital or sort of virtual world, because I didn't think half the stuff in Logic even made any sense with the virtual tracks. And, it's like you think it's going to come in on this channel, but you have to just go flipping through all of them to see, okay, it really wants channel 35. I have no idea. I thought it would be 9, but it's going to be, and I just keep it that way so that, you save the I/O plugin and it'll remember to do it. But wow, it was.
Yeah. There's also in my studio the same thing going on with the Army MADI interface. Basically, just spits out all the channels to your computer, and if you use MADI over copper, it's the third MADI connection. So channel 1 is not channel 1. Channel 1 is channel 129.
Oh my God.
129 is channel 1 on 48 kilohertz, because if you go to 96 kilohertz, the whole routing changes again. So it's 32 to 64, then it's 65, I think.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, who decided this and why? And
Yeah.
and then you have to find the people that are making the videos on that.
Yeah, or just figure out what's going on. Like in Reaper,
Yeah.
I can just create my own input-output mapping, so it will map
Okay.
it in the background. And I actually went further with Reaper than just that. So
Mm.
I have a Stream Deck. I don't know if you know these things. That's
No.
basically a macro keyboard, and it has a little display behind every button. And you can program them yourself, pretty easy. And I made scripts that if I want to route something to an output or want to have a certain input on a certain channel, they're all on here. I can just say,
Wow.
okay, Neumann channel 4, and it will just poof automatically. It will save solo. It will remove it from the master, like all that stuff.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That sounds like a helpful go-between.
Yeah, and those things are very important for me, because if every single time I need to route, I need to first do a conversion. So, okay, 65 is 1, so I need channel 4, so I need 69. Okay, then I need to put this channel into record. I need to remove it from master. I need to do this routing or that routing. That's a lot of work. And now it's just like one button press, and we can move on with being creative again.
Yeah, that's the problem. And I have to remember that there are some days that just have to be for setup or routing and patching, and maybe do several songs at a time. Like after watching the Beatles Get Back special, I got super inspired as the year changed. January was coming again. I thought, what can I do in January, since they were on the roof in January, that I've never done before with writing? And I thought, I've never tried to write as many songs as I can in 1 month. Like Stevie Wonder used to write a song a day or something, like I've written 2 songs a month for years or whatever. But that seemed to be a cool idea. Because I had written so many, I was able to put down the basic track, a guitar and vocal, to several at once. So then I went through and then did drums for several at once. It was like, oh, this is how I should be working, and like not setting up for each instrument or jumping to each instrument as often, like it could be a way to get it done. But I was excited because I had gotten 23 songs written that I really liked, and I had never done that before. So what do you do, like, to challenge yourself that feels fun? Like I was watching your video this morning on mental health, and I love that you love to walk. I certainly love to walk. It certainly rebalances me and helps me tune myself back to feeling better. The positive thoughts maybe start flowing again, shake off some of the blues. Like, what kind of things do you do to get, like, I'm sure even just for me, acquiring gear is exciting and lifts me up. And even just going through and trying to find the gear, okay, what do I want next? That hunting and gathering is really exciting.
Yeah, for me, the same thing, like figuring out what I need, and also for the YouTube channel, I also figure out camera gear and stuff, and that's also very exciting to do.
I know.
That's still for me.
Written down, like some of the camera gear you've been using, it's on some of your videos as well? Things are starting to look really cool on your videos.
Yeah. So currently I'm running a Blackmagic camera.
And are you doing that right now too? Because you look.
Yeah. This is also a Blackmagic camera. Yeah. Because I have nothing else that can function as a webcam.
Oh, okay. You're not using the MacBook with the built-in anymore.
No. That's potato quality. Like, I don't like.
Yeah, I look potato compared to you right now.
No, I film everything on a Blackmagic 6K Pro in B-RAW. So the files coming out of there are enormous, but the quality is very good, and you can adjust certain things afterwards. You can change your ISO and stuff. And when self-shooting, that helps a lot, because I fuck up a lot of times. So I do it on Blackmagic, and the rest is filmed on an iPhone.
Yeah.
And I'm now looking into getting like 1 or 2 action cameras, because they're really small. You can just put them somewhere, and while you're doing things, it can just capture what you're doing. Blackmagic, for instance, it's very heavy. I want to rig that over my desk. It's too heavy. Like I need to create a complete camera rig that they use in Hollywood. Like, I don't want to do that. Yeah. And that was literally a part of my my school was rigging for lighting,
Oh, wow.
for professional stage lighting. But I would need to make such a rig that doesn't vibrate and stuff, because if it vibrates, then the pictures also start to vibrate. So I don't want to do that. So so that's probably going to be the next purchase. I actually saw that this morning DJI announced new products. So who knows? But that's it for the YouTube channel. That's all the gear that I'm using actually. So,
Yeah, that's pretty great.
yeah.
They should make a 6K camera, either in the Max or available to capture 6K in Zoom or something.
Yeah, so the issue is that it's not necessarily 6K that's cool about the Blackmagic camera. It's really the raw video format that's cool.
Oh, but that's what makes it harder to then do the editing.
Yeah, yeah. No, for me it's not hard because I have an M1 Max MacBook, so that chews through it pretty well.
Okay.
But
That's the newer one right now.
yeah. Yeah, that has been such a blessing, that MacBook. That makes things so much easier.
And
Like,
that one doesn't overheat, right? That one doesn't even have a fan, I don't think.
yeah, it has a fan, and it only turns on when rendering.
Oh.
So when I'm editing both my screen recording plus an extra thing, plus the feed from my camera and ProRes screen recording, so it really needs to chew a lot of data. It doesn't even turn on the fan during editing.
That's amazing.
And during rendering, it does turn on the fan, because it renders at like 2 or 3 times the speed of the thing. So normally with video rendering, it's like always lower than real time, the speed. Right. But this MacBook does it at like double or triple the real time speed. So if a video is 10 minutes long, I can probably render it in 5 minutes.
That's great, because some of my chats have been going over 2 hours, and it's like you've got to wait almost 2 hours for it to.
yeah. Do it overnight.
I do. Yeah, I'll do a lot of them overnight. Yeah. But then if I change computers, all my plugins and all my connections to the other hardware, like the Apollos, and even my Logic, everything's going to have to be updated.
Yeah, that's
It's like starting over.
Yeah, I really like to keep it simple and stupid method for that. I just have 2 plugin bundles, which is the Fab Filter and the Sonable stuff.
Subscription?
No, absolutely not. No, no, just a one-time payment Fab Filter bundle and a one-time payment Sonable bundle, which I didn't pay for, by the way. Full disclosure, they gave them to me for the reviews, and I've just continued to use them. Yeah. If I install both those plugins, I'm already 99% there. I can open 99% of my sessions and everything.
Wow.
I rarely use other plugins. So that's one of my tricks. Just, this is what it is. Do it with that, and don't get into the because all those plugins are great, but as soon as you indeed need to switch machines or something.
Yeah. And like you've said in other videos, they're all trying to imitate things that we all already have.
Yeah, exactly.
Hardware that already exists that does it better, and why don't they try to do something new?
Yeah, or fix a problem that shouldn't be a problem in the first place if you just set up your setup correctly. Like I just finished a video edit, and I'm saying in that video, like, okay, this plugin, the goal of this plugin is to remove digital harshness. But why don't you just remove the digital harshness by just clocking your setup correctly? By using the correct sample rate, by just doing the right thing, by gain staging everything correctly. That is your issue. And now you're going to put a band-aid on a broken knee? Like, what's the philosophy here? So that's one of the things that I do for keeping systems compatible. And my other strategy is a modular digital setup. So my converters, I have a full RME setup, but they all talk with each other over open protocols. So my stereo converter talks AES, and my multi-channel converters talk MADI. So the worst thing that can happen is that my MADI or AES interface that actually connects to the computer isn't supported anymore, and then I just have to replace that, and I'm good to go again. Wow. So keeping things modular is my trick.
Yeah, that sounds a lot more of a broader view then I've thought about this because at the time I needed an interface. They said one of the better interfaces was an Apollo. I didn't realize it came with its own plugins. Then they give you a budget to get other plugins. I didn't even know that Logic had its own plugins. There's like all these things that were like redundant, 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 redundant. You're spending a lot of money.
Yeah, yeah, that's what they want. As you know,
That's
spend
exactly
money,
what they
be
want.
happy. Yeah.
I've been a very good consumer.
Yeah, I'm very bad at consuming, but that's probably just because I'm Dutch. Like,
That's good. I really like your accent. I like a Dutch accent, but I really like a Beatle accent. Do you ever try to do any other accents of your own?
no, no, no. I'm already very bad at my own accent. So, I mean, I constantly like mastering. I constantly change my own accent as well. Like,
I like mastering. It sounds better.
yeah, yeah, more English. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. And George has a cool accent too.
yeah, yeah. And he's actually his English is very good.
Yeah.
He's just yeah. He's not a lot on camera, unfortunately, but he will be
No.
in the future, I think. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
I love the video you guys did together. I mean, that was making me think I got to hop on a plane and go say hello to you guys and have him do the mastering, you know?
yeah, 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 yeah. I mean,
And
that's
then the
always
timing
possible.
timing didn't work out, but that would have been great and it would have sounded incredible, I'm sure.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. He has such a different approach to mastering as well. Like he
Yes. But
he
that's what
really
I love about you guys is
yeah.
that passion and that depth and the understanding of the heart and the soul and the sound and the artistry and the science and I'm like, love these guys.
And we're sometimes sitting together. Then there's a new piece of gear or whatever, or um we saw something new, or we just want to try something out, and we're A Bing
Mm.
sitting A Bing, and we're like, "Ah," and then all of a sudden, like after 15 minutes or something, we stop and we're like, what the heck are we doing here? We're looking at such small details and such.
Hmm.
It's yeah,
Well, I've even heard Jack Joseph Puig say, listen, if that one makes you feel better because you just like the way those buttons feel, that's your machine. If you have
yeah,
something in your rack that doesn't even work, but it makes you feel more of an engineer, make sure you look at that and keep that one in your rack. You know, like there's so many things that erode the human spirit just in living, let alone be an artistic being, that whatever's going to help buoy us, I think is really important. And as long as it's not hurting you or somebody else, you're good, you know?
I also think that the good clients don't care about how you do it.
No, they don't care at all. In fact, who was mentioning it? Don't even allow them in on the thought process of that because you're confusing them. They're hearing the bigger picture and feeling, is my song coming along the way I want it to? And I'm saying, oh, look at this really cool plugin and this trick I did with the delay and the guitar's bouncing from this, and they're going, what? You did what? And then they're upset about it. You know, like,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
don't do that. Like, don't tell them anything.
Yeah,
They
but
don't need to
that's
know that
literally,
detail.
and my clients will recognize that whenever they receive the first version, they literally get an email. Hey, here's the first version of this song. Take your time to listen to it. Let me know what you think. I'm not giving any details because I want them to listen.
Yes.
I don't want them to. I don't want to say want them to think. I don't want to. I don't want to bias them.
Right.
I
Right.
just want them to really like the first impression should be unbiased. And if I'm already started talking like I did this, then their focus going to be there. So
Right. Right. And
yeah,
focus is everything, you know?
yeah,
Focus is everything with how we even feel about ourselves and what thoughts we're going to entertain. Like, I just had Eric Mazel on the other day, and he's done over 50 books on this whole creative process and working with artists and coaching and things like that. And he was saying, we have to be like good stewards of our minds, you know? It's like, do not even let yourself keep thinking thoughts that don't serve you because it's useless. Like you go down the tubes so easily and it's
yeah,
your own thoughts. You know, even how we feel about other people in our lives, the whole relationship is in our head. And if you start going down the tubes like, oh, they're upset with me and da 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 da, it changes how you act and who you're with and how you do it. And They don't know anything about it. What are you talking about?
exactly. And that's sometimes what I'm also saying to, and I've said that publicly on the YouTube channel as well, to watch haters or bad commenters. Like, you don't know me. Like, I only know what is going on in my head. I only know what I'm thinking. I'm the only one that knows my own intentions. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
And it's the same with teaching. I mean, it doesn't matter how much you know and how good you are at anything. There's always like almost 50-50 people saying, you know what you're doing, you don't know what you're doing. And, they started doing these student evaluations a million years ago. And it was so great because our boss said, don't even pay attention to them that much, because we know it's actually normal to have everybody say everything under the sun, because that's what the public does, and it's like, well, this is why I like to stay home and do my own thing.
It's a bit of a depressing thing sometimes. Yeah.
Oh, super depressing. I mean, I think sometimes it's what can keep me from wanting to even perform. I mean, when I was really young and I had just an acoustic guitar, 10 years old, my dad would bring me to the family reunions, sit me in a chair on top of a table and want me to play without a sound system.
Yeah.
And I was like terrified, because like 150 people would be crowded around me going, we can't hear you, Lorman. Can you sing any louder? Can you play any louder? And they were all so loud that that's all I heard. It was all this screaming at me. And it was like, if you just shut the fuck up, like you might hear a couple of notes, But one of my friends said, well, no wonder. Without him knowing it, he was so proud of you, but he was setting you up to fail, because you had no sound system, Yeah. And that, all these traumatic things that we experienced growing up, they're still in there, you know? It's like, even Pat Metheny told me, it's like he'll be on the stage in Japan and they're so polite that they clap and they're done.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden he hears his sneakers squeaking on the floor and his strap flowing on his shoulder, and he's going, we're bombing. They don't even like us. Oh my God. Oh my God. Because they're used to, like, a bigger act. People are screaming and yelling and hooraying even while you're counting off the tune. Like, you just feel like everything's flowing just fine. But in that intense quiet, it's staggering.
I think in general that people could learn to shut up a little bit more when somebody's making music, but that's my own.
Definitely.
Like when
I've seen George Winston at Boston Symphony Hall, and he wasn't amplified, playing this beautiful grand piano, but everybody around me coughing and sneezing and moving, and they were louder than him. I was like, oh.
I'm always very surprised by the SPL amount, like decibels, from PA systems.
Horrifying.
So incredible, horrifyingly high. I went to the concert of Aurora. She was performing over here in the Netherlands. I'm a big Aurora fan, and I went there with my girlfriend. And the sound system, the SPL really was too high. Like I didn't enjoy it.
No.
It was
getting
really,
your inner organs rearranged, and they're about to give you a heart attack.
And we actually took a position like on a balcony from the side of the stage, so we could barely see anything. And we were in front of speakers who had good sound, but I had earplugs in so that I could really hear what they were doing instead of just getting my ears crushed.
Yes.
And I was thinking about that. And because I did a lot of live engineering back in the days. But usually the PA system is only like 3 or 6 decibels above, which is like, of course, a lot more, but 3 or 6 decibels above crowd noise.
Yeah.
And I'm like, if everybody would shut up, just shut up.
I know.
Those PA systems don't have to be that loud. Like, where's the problem? Like there are discussions going on, and I understand those discussions. Like, sound should be limited because it's damaging people's ears.
Yeah.
I'm like, but it's not the problem is not the engineer that is turning it up, because the engineer, what the engineer behind the console needs to do is making sure that everybody can hear the music. And if nobody shuts up, then he has to push it louder.
And I found over the years that I don't like the sound of the venues. It's like when I listen to music, I want to go into fantastic headphones.
Yeah.
I don't want to hear the room, and I don't want to hear all the people around me. And to hear all those reflections, I mean, most concerts just sound like hell. It's like,
true.
if I'm not close within the first 10 rows and I can't see the artists, if I'm just going to be looking at a big screen hearing this awful sound with a low end that wants to give me a heart attack, I'm like, I just can't do it.
I never understood that heart attack low end as well. Like,
yeah, that's just insane.
Yeah.
It's like you're going to rearrange your inner organs here. You know, like
I don't even know if that's healthy to listen to every day. Like,
I think they found that certain sound pressures will burst organs. I think they were using them at one time as warfare weapons, you know. You could actually do harm, you know.
Oh. So, yeah, but that's like very realistic. Like it's a pressure wave, like
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's horrible.
Yeah.
Getting back to things we love.
Tell me.
I had a chance to buy a 2-inch 24-track machine just a couple of months ago. It was $4,000. I was so tempted because to me, seeing consoles and tape machines is so exciting. Like that's what studios used to look like when I was a kid. And I just thought, I don't know where to put a big washing machine down here, you know?
There's like that's the age-old problem. You never have enough gear, only not enough room. Like
yeah. So I have a picture of his machine instead on a big canvas.
Yeah.
And I look at that and look at my machine, and I mean, it's just fun.
There are a lot of studios that don't have a tape machine, so
yeah, and they're fine. I think studios might be on their way back though, and that would be cool.
Yeah. I actually think they were never gone.
In a lot of ways, yeah. A lot of them have closed in the US, but I think
true,
coming back around.
I think that there are a lot of studios that have always been operating within niches that have continued to operate, but those are not visible. Yeah. So we're talking about visible studios that do popular music that need to be visible for whatever reason. And that has declined a lot. And it's probably coming back as well. But there are still a lot of creatives and a lot of studios that have just been operating in the background. Nobody hears from them, and they're just doing their thing. And I think those type of studios have always been very stable in their representation.
That's pretty cool. That's a good point.
Yeah.
I'm amazed at how many people are interested in recording and producing music these days.
Me too.
All of a sudden it's like everybody has a record out. You're like, what?
When I started my YouTube channel, I had the ultimate goal of getting 30,000 subscribers. Because I thought that was roughly the amount of people that would be interested in recording around the world, like English talking people be interested in the things I was talking about. 30,000 people. And I'm still gaining like 1,000 subscribers every month. And I'm like, so many people are interested in this.
That's great.
And it's super cool because I understand why they're interested in it because I'm doing it and it's great. But I would have never imagined so many people to be interested in that.
No. And I started my channel in 2006 or 2007. It was before there was a subscription bell. It was before it was. I have some videos that were about my Beatle band, over 200,000 views. Like, I don't have hardly any subscribers.
Yeah, but the magic algorithm.
Yeah.
That's
That's why I got off Facebook. It was like, you guys are interfering with all my things. Nothing is really the law of attraction and actual interest, you know.
Yeah.
So
and I mean,
with these numbers, I'm gone.
For me, it's the reason why the algorithms are the reason why you see those weird thumbnails with the weird faces from me. Like that's literally algorithm.
Oh, you mean you can't change those?
No,
still frames.
No, I make them.
You make them?
Yeah, the thumbnails are custom made, and if they are not spectacular enough, people won't click them. It's human behavior.
Oh, right. See, well, this is part of the thing that gets upsetting is like, I didn't want my music or what I had to say to necessarily be for everybody in a sense. You know, it's like if this is the lowest common denominator and you have to blow things up and explode this or that or make something so loud and like sometimes I can have a real bashing drum sound and really cool soon, and someone will say, "Oh, your music is so relaxing." It's like, how much explosions and loud end and big low end and whatever do you need to be aware or to wake up or to?
Well, but maybe you have to do it the opposite way around.
Yeah.
A good example was my grandma. Whenever we were as kids, were always doing stupid stuff. She would scream at us, and we wouldn't be surprised. But as soon as she would stop screaming and start talking at a normal level, we would be scared AF because we knew that she was really upset. So
I'm telling you for the last time.
yeah. As soon as the screaming stopped, that was the moment where
Screaming stop bad.
Yeah.
That's funny.
If screaming is stop, then bad.
Run, hide.
Else, yeah.
Take off. So what works to tune yourself back up besides walking?
Well, walking is my secret thing. Walking, meditation, reading. It's a bit of the traditional mental health playbook, but
Yes.
I think that playbook exists for a reason. What I think is important as well for in these days is being very mindful about mobile phone usage. Because I think that what we're doing right now is we are not giving our brain time to process things anymore. So every single second of our days, like literally you wake up, most people, like I'm the same, have our phones on our nightstand. We first check our phones. And every second of the day we are consuming information. Like it's constantly information. And most of the information your brain needs to process, but we're not even conscious about the fact that we're processing that information. Like Instagram or even YouTube. I'm sometimes watching a few videos. And if you would ask me immediately after that watching session what I watched, I can probably only recall one video, which is scary. That means that I'm just doing something for a weird reason. And I think that being bored is very important. So just not using your phone. Whenever waiting in a line at the cashier, cashier, whenever you're waiting in line, don't pick up your phone. Just keep it in your and just wait.
Can you imagine?
Like people did when there weren't any phones.
Right. They would actually maybe even talk to each other.
Yeah, and when I'm driving, my girlfriend lives like 40 minutes drive from here, so that's medium time drive for the Netherlands. For a lot of people in other countries, it's literally around the corner. But in the Netherlands, it's it's almost at the other side of the Netherlands. But it's I can choose to listen to a podcast, or I can just not do that and just drive and let my mind do the thing that my mind needs to do: clean up, process, whatever.
Yes.
Sleep is the same thing. Respect your sleep hours. Like that's very, like I see so many people that are not respecting their own sleep. They're saying, I can sleep when I'm dead. And I'm like, what are you even saying?
I know. They perpetuate that. They do that in studio life and internships, and even at Berkeley, they perpetuate this thing that out in the real world, the client is the most important thing, and you should be able to sacrifice yourself and work 48 hours straight without food, water, bathroom, sleep. And it's like, this is just insane, inhuman, and stupid. I don't agree with that at all. I'm not going to sacrifice myself for anything like that.
I literally had to learn that. I literally had to learn that wasn't normal.
Yeah.
Because I thought that was okay, and that was just the way it was. And last year, I had enough of it. I was like, okay, and we made a quote out of that over here. The quote is, well, it's not really a quote. It's just we're saying no. So certain jobs are just saying no, and people say.
No is a complete sentence.
But people say like, but you cannot say no because you have to say yes to everything because otherwise you will lose your clients. My answer to this, and that's the quote, is, well, then I need to translate it. I rather be hungry.
Yeah.
That's like the Dutch saying is "dan maar honger," but yeah, I rather be hungry.
Yeah.
And that is, yeah.
Well, it's like you're saying, getting back to mental health. If all of that gets screwed up, the sleeping, eating, taking care of yourself stuff gets screwed up, the basics for keeping this operating system working, and I'm pointing to my body, this interface that I live in, everything else goes weird.
Yeah.
If I don't get enough sleep and the food in the right way every 2 or 3 hours, fuel, my brain gets very upset and it gets depressed, and then weird thoughts happen, and then I start spiraling down, and nothing is right, and nothing can recover from that. And I could live many years that way in my younger days because I didn't realize I had natural rhythms of when sleep really wanted to happen. If I missed the sleep train before midnight, I can be up till 2 or 3 just wide awake because that second wind comes. So it's like you need to, just as you grow and get older, you just learn different things about yourself, what kind of fuel you need, what kind of sleep, and how much water, and it changes as your needs change and your bodies change. And it's fascinating, and sometimes I just want to do the music, but it's like, but I am here, I am human, and I have limitations. And
exactly.
I love that you're putting boundaries around I'd rather be hungry, because it's like, I'm not going to sacrifice myself for this.
So, and the thing is also that if somebody doesn't respect your limitations, that's like the biggest red flag there is.
Oh, yes. Yes, because they're not going to respect anything else.
Exactly. So since I've been doing that, literally saying no to clients, one of the things I never do, well, some exceptions, small exceptions, but is speed delivery. So I've got a file, it needs to be mastered in 48 hours. Well, good luck with that. Search for somebody else. I'm not going to do it.
That's why they have the automatic thing on online. Go ahead, go for
exactly.
it.
Just go to the automatic thing. No, but we need it to be mastered by a real human. Then you shouldn't treat them as a robot. Like,
yes.
I'm not going to do that. First of all, I cannot guarantee quality because I want to be able to listen to it 1 extra or 2 extra days after I did all the hard work, because I want to check with fresh ears. Second of all, I'm not going to just drop everything that I'm doing and then later on figuring out how I'm going to fix this. I'm not going to put my schedule upside down. That's just, and if you search for the reason why people need such short notice mastering, it's because they work too long on the track, or because they fucked up. Like that's and then they're making their problem into my problem.
Right.
Yeah, that's not gonna happen.
No.
And they can pay as much as they want, but I'm not going to do it. Like I just want to be able to deliver quality and have respect for myself and my own body. And same goes with clients that cannot behave, if you know what I mean. Like
yes.
I've coined the phrase, and I actually coined this phrase in the Produce Like a Pro podcast. Firing a client, not firing an employee, but firing a client. Like, okay, it's done now. Here, your money back. Go.
Bye bye.
Yeah. Self-respect is very respecting your own limitations, and indeed, clients that do respect your limitations, they're great to work with.
Yeah.
They just know, client can be a king, but they have to act like a royal.
Yes, there you go. That's a good one too.
Yeah.
And even as far as limitations, I would almost turn it in my own mind to say my preferences. Like my preferences matter, you know? So whether they look at it as a limitation, it may be limiting their nonsense, but my preference is where the quality begins for me. This is my reputation, my name on this.
Yeah.
This is why I'm doing it this way. And that's got to be part of the working agreement. And if not, I love that.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And the cool thing is that now I have a very cool bunch of clients that I'm working for, like regular clients. It's just a lot of fun working with them. And every once in a while I get new jobs coming in through the website. And you know, it's just things has just become better since I started doing that. So, you know,
That's awesome. Well, we
and I'm
learn as
just
we go.
yeah, and I'm just realizing like, why didn't I do this like 5 years before this? Like, I was always beating myself up over all those jobs, and why? Like,
Well,
yeah,
some of it just we weren't aware of, and some of it was just like we just had to learn. Like,
yeah,
wow, it could be different. This is great.
yeah,
Because nobody out in the world tells you that. They just think say yes to everything. In fact, I just read a book, and the title is called Never Say No to a Rock Star by Glenn Berger. It's
yeah,
fantastic. I mean, I didn't even know this book was out there. I think it came out in 2016. And he was a young intern working with Phil Ramone. I listened to it on Audible, and it was just so great. I couldn't believe the behind the scenes stories and that people actually acted this way. I thought, I have been so spared, because as a young kid, I just thought, yeah, I'm going to be a rock star or I'm going to be, rich and famous doing music or whatever. And you just don't realize how much nonsense is part of that. It's got nothing to do with real music. I
yeah,
wanted to be a great musician. It's like I have become a great musician and I have complete artistic control over everything I do. Thank God. you know?
yeah. I just wrote it down. I just looked it up. It's available for my e-reader, so I'll
Yeah.
read the book as well. Yeah,
He's going to come on the
interesting.
chat too. I was just so pleased to hear back from him as well. But
Cool. Yeah,
wow. I mean, this is important stuff. I like being human about everything,
yeah,
I like taking breaks. Like I just had a couple people over yesterday, bass and drums, and the first thing we did was get together, hang out, and let the bass player and drummer meet and have a nice meal, you
yeah.
know?
Yeah, it's very important. Yeah. One of the
So
things I learned at school when doing theater jobs, you have a new technician every day, basically. Every show, there's a new technician coming through the theater, and you have the crew from the theater and a technician. And they're saying, one of the questions they asked at school was like, what's the most important part when meeting a new technician? And some people were like, the lighting plan. Somebody the script. Another person said like the sounds is whatever. What's the most important thing to know or to do when? And the answer was drinking coffee.
there you go.
Yeah,
Being a person,
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
relating, connecting,
yeah,
all those beautiful things.
yeah,
That's so fantastic.
yeah,
I like that when people are willing to play, you know? It's like I've taken myself way too seriously for too many decades, and play is so important, and having fun and making that a priority. And
yeah,
like you're saying, surrounding yourself with people that you can work with or clients that do have a certain amount of royalty so that there is mutual respect.
yeah, 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 yeah. I 100% agree. Yeah,
It's lovely. So
yeah.
good.
And remember why you started doing this. Like everybody in this industry started doing this because they love to do it.
Right?
So
Well, if you don't take enough breaks and you treat yourself badly, you can end up hating everything and everybody
mhm. Yeah, exactly.
because you're just miserable inside. Like you feel so bad.
Yeah,
They don't realize that it's going to break down. You
yeah,
know, you look at anybody's picture at 17, 18 years old, and sometimes they're the picture of health, but not always. And then by the time they're in their 30s or 40s, from drinking and drugging and smoking and all these things that I never did, they look like hell.
yeah,
It's like, don't you see your favorite artist and decide, I don't want to look like that, and just decide not to do it? Like there are other ways to do things.
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Jeez.
yeah.
What, what is, what are some of the cool things you're doing now, equipment wise, and looking forward to or building?
So I'm actually not really purchasing a lot of equipment these days. The reason for that is that we're literally working within the company on stability, financial stability. So not investing a lot is helping that. And I'm also soon going to work on getting a few more people involved in the company,
Oh, cool.
probably on freelance basis or whatever. So that will be video editing, those type of jobs.
Right.
The newest thing I bought is the Wes Audio NG Bus Comp. So
Nice.
that's the big compressor, and it's just great because it's just remote controlled. So I open
Oh,
the session and it just click, and
click.
everything
Yeah.
is there. Like that's how it works. Um,
I have one Tegler piece like that, the Tegler reverb that does that. That's pretty
yeah,
cool.
I have it over here as well. The Raumzeitmaschine.
Yes.
Yes, the German Raumzeitmaschine. Yeah.
Oh, mommy.
Yeah, and apart from that, one of the projects that I'm really excited about is just the vlog that I'm now putting out there that you also referenced with the mental health thing. Like,
Yeah,
I
that's
think
fun.
that creates a platform for me to really share more passion and more
Mm.
interesting things. And that it won't always be a very interesting video, but for me, it's more like if there's a rhythm, there will always be videos in there that will be really cool. So,
Right.
yeah.
Right. Yeah, well, a day in the life with Wytse is pretty exciting. You know, people are like, how do you do this? What do you do all day? How does it
Yeah,
work?
I didn't realize that because I'm living that life. So I'm like, why is this interesting?
Well,
And I
those are the
just
kinds
started
of
doing it.
questions. Yeah, well,
Yeah,
those are the kinds of questions people would get all day long.
yeah,
I mean, I've wondered that even about my favorite artists. What is their life like? How busy are they? How often do they write? When do they
yeah,
practice? When do they this? When do they,
yeah,
how do they have time to be them? That's what we get asked all the time. How do you have time to be you? How do you
yeah,
put out so many albums? How do you do all these chats? How do you teach at school? How do you, so it's really cool that you're showing us that.
yeah. Apparently, yeah. I
Well,
just enjoy making it and I enjoy sharing it. And I've seen so many good responses to it that I'm like, okay, so this is really a thing. Like,
yeah.
yeah,
Step into who you actually are,
yeah,
share your celebrity in that
yeah. And,
sense, and people
and
buy
I hope I
into
can
the.
branch out a little bit with that, like also showing what is going on in the rest of in the studio rooms in here, and
That's right.
um, maybe show a little bit of my private life. I don't know yet, but there's still a lot of options there.
Yeah.
Maybe maybe creating a part in there where I'm also responding to comments from viewers could also be a thing. Yeah,
Yeah. Sometimes answering questions if they're.
I saw a lot of questions from people about my Reaper template, and I was like, yeah,
Huh,
makes sense. Yeah, for me it's just my template, and it's like works. But a lot of
well,
people
like
want to learn about that.
even setting everything up. I mean, when I first went to a computer in 2005 from ADAT machines, I was like, how does the computer hook up to actual analog gear? I mean, at least in the analog days, you could see what connectors all fit together,
Yeah,
but all this virtual world and stuff, there was a whole bunch of stuff. And there were
yeah,
very few people making videos of the virtual console within Apollo and how that gets routed to your Mac or how it works with Apple versus Pro Tools. And oh, mamma mia.
yeah. Yeah, those are things that I don't even think about anymore, which is like my own flaw. But yeah,
It's nice to not, well, it's nice to have something set up, like we say, ready to go, but hardly anything is set it and forget it. Something has to be revisited, or you do a dumb thing like unplug your eye lock, and
yeah.
now you're in computer
Oh,
hell.
those things are so annoying when they happen.
I know.
Yeah, because,
Somebody knows how to fix it.
and they always happen on a moment that you don't want it.
Yes. Yes.
Like I can solve pretty much like most of the issues I can solve, but not when I don't want to solve them.
Exactly. It's like you thought you were doing the drums today, but no, you're troubleshooting all these cables.
Yeah,
What?
yeah, yeah. It's
Yeah, and
interesting.
if the day gets away from you that way, it feels very unfulfilling.
Yeah,
So that was one of the things that so many of Eric Mazel's books says. He's like, an artist has to make meaning for themselves every day. And that is even just telling your brain that what you're doing is valuable, even if you're not rich and famous or you have 6 billion fans.
yeah,
It's like, why am I writing this? Why am I doing this? Why do I spend all this time editing this or doing this or recording that? Nobody listens to it. Who cares? A lot of people feel that way. And it's like, well, on a bad day, I can feel that way, but it doesn't make any sense because I enjoy the time that I'm doing it.
yeah,
The reason to do it, the process of the writing, the excitement of the finished product, the getting the mix just right, those things thrill me. I just like doing it.
yeah,
And a painter doesn't necessarily do it to be the best painter in the world or to win a Grammy for a painting or be in a museum somewhere. They're doing it because they love to paint. So a lot of people, especially a lot of my students, they're getting into things for the wrong reason. Like even the Beatles got into music to make music and to play music. It wasn't to be the best band in the world.
I think that is the only foundation to become the best band of the world, is because you're doing it for the music.
Yes.
If I know a lot of people also that just want to score a hit, and I'm like, that's your focus. You're never going to score a hit.
It's true. In a lot of ways, it's true.
Yeah.
Because our lives wouldn't be that much different. They might be a little bit more zeros on our bank account, but everything else would pretty much be the same. So
it's a very good, very, very good thought experiment.
Yes.
If you would what would you do if you all of a sudden would have like a few $1 million in your case?
Yes.
On your bank account? What would you do? And
what would you do differently the way you got up today and how you spent your day and how you got to work?
And the answer on that really explains a lot about if you're doing the right thing. Because my answer would basically be, I would probably buy a Fairchild compressor.
Yes.
And park the rest of the money just on a bank account somewhere and just continue doing what I'm doing. So
exactly.
And if that's the answer, then that's okay. But if you would radically do a lot of things different, that means that that you're doing something wrong.
Yeah, you're doing the wrong thing. You're in somebody else's life. Change it.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, that's the thing, right? It's like, love what you're doing or change it.
Yeah.
Don't complain about it. Things sometimes are just neutral, and we decide whether they're positive or negative. And that will either elevate us or defeat us. And then you have to find the best parts of something to enjoy, and at least find something good, redeemable out of it. There's got to be a gold nugget somewhere. And if not, then forgive and let go of everything else that falls short, because otherwise it's going to eat at us, And I've done all of those things wrong so many times. I mean, even when I was younger, for decades, I'd be jealous of this one or that one who has such and such career, out gigging around the world. And my friends would say, well, what did you expect, or what did you want? I said, I always wanted to write and record and perform my own music. They said, well, you're doing that, And it's like, well, then why are you so miserable? It's like, because I thought it would be different. What's different? What needs to be different? Then some of these people are all clamoring back to get a job at Berkeley because they need health insurance, or they look 20 years older than I do, and we're the same age, And it's like, oh, I didn't realize being a major label artist, if you weren't the real top, you're like the lowest person on the totem pole. You hardly ever see any money for the first 3 years. You still have to work your day job. I was like, what? Like there's like so many misconceptions about what that life actually is, and some people get completely eaten up by it, and the system is not kind, you know? So,
Yeah.
I was spared so many things I didn't realize I was spared, But I'd like to talk to some of the folks that I know that have big careers that actually are happy. There are a lot of people who are miserable and crash and burn, but there are a lot of people that are also successful at it. Like some people have really learned to maneuver even that wild life.
Yeah. And then those are people that can do that for a long time as well.
They have the thicker skin for it, or they have the sustained energy for it. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Ever since TSA got involved with the airlines, I felt like they took the fun out of flying, So
I don't remember the time.
Before that,
I've never flown without TSA. So
wow. So how old are you?
31 years old now.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. Because that the TSA stuff happened around 9/11, right? That was after 9/11 they started TSA.
Yeah. So you were born in like 95, 96, 94.
92.
92.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. So, No, never. No. Yeah. Indeed.
1992.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's when I almost went on the road with Pat Metheny.
Almost.
I was 32. Yeah.
Yeah.
There was this big audition, and you had to send in all these play-along things, and hundreds and hundreds of people sent them in, and it came down to 2 people, me and this one other guy, and he took the other guy because he had touring experience. And it was fun to just have Pat Metheny and Steve Rodby at my house. It was like, what? Did anybody see that? It's like
Yeah.
an artist makes a big deal, like they can't go anywhere, but really, any artist can go anywhere if you just don't tell the press that you're going there.
Yeah. Yeah. True. Yeah. Yeah.
It's so funny. But yeah, it
Yeah.
was fun to play with him for 2 hours and hear all about that stuff.
Cool.
I put a video on that on my YouTube channel because it was a cool experience. And it had everything to do with me being willing to play the exact voicings he was playing, play them the same way. And when I put on my headphones to record my part to show him that I was playing with the record and doing my best to keep up with him, that I could play that part for him live if we had to, because that's what the audition was for. That I actually got the right sound of my acoustic just by turning my guitar around the mic when I had the headphones on. And I went, oh, I can blend it right into the recording. So he really liked that. And all these things that we talk about, whether it's playing or really detailed listening, just picking up on those differences, it's more than just plugging in a guitar and slamming it, saying you think you have it. It's like the touch. People forget about the touch and how they strike the strings and all these subtle things that make the sound.
Yeah, which are probably more important than the type of microphone that you're playing into. Like,
absolutely, I think it was Bruce Monroe in one of these other chats was saying, if a really great band comes in and they sound fantastic, the only thing I can do is mess them up.
yeah, yeah. But that's also yeah. That's one of my quotes as well. Like, if a very good recording comes into mix, then I can only mess it up.
And I have messed it up by playing with something for so long and getting like upside down in the airplane and not even know that I'm upside down.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, those things happen. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
What haven't we talked about? How did all these important, really fantastic values become part of your frame of reference? Like, who else were you listening to, or who else taught you about beautiful artistic aesthetics in the way you approach music? Because for 31 years old, you're mighty strong in what I feel are really good values and artistic choices.
I don't know, actually. I don't know. I don't know how I became that. But I think my most important value is, if you would write it out, is just do what is right.
I love that, though.
That is really my value, and it's very important for me. If I don't do that, I don't sleep well. I don't feel well.
Yeah.
I always need to do the right thing. Look in the mirror at the end of the day and say to myself, like, at least I know that I did the right thing, and I used I were in how do you say it in English? Integrity. Like,
Yes. Well, that's why I wanted to talk to you. I felt like I got that from you.
Yeah, but that's like my deepest core value, I think. Integrity and honesty and just doing the right thing. And when you, for instance, look at YouTube, the right thing on YouTube is choosing for the audience, always audience first, because they are the people that make your channel, and they are they're responsible for the place that I'm in.
Yes.
So never go with a manufacturer, never go with a sponsor, never go with a whatever.
Mm-hmm.
The audience first. And that's I don't know how I become that. I have no idea. Probably because of my parents, because they they are involved in shaping me. But
certainly.
Yeah.
But it seems like you've had good role models in music, in business, in sound, in even just your choice of music, the things you listen to, the quality. I mean, I think there are a lot of people who have the Beatles as at least a soundscape in their mind somewhere that have taste.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Because they were surrounded by so many fantastic people. I mean,
Yeah.
between George Martin and all the fantastic engineers and everybody else, it was just an A team all
Yeah.
around.
Yeah. True. Yeah. I think like business, like I think you can just look at my family basically. Like
Mm.
one of my uncles was in business. I helped him a lot at his business, so he taught me a lot about business.
Oh, that's cool.
My family, no, my parents and my sister all played musical instruments.
Oh, cool.
Um, my mom was always working on art, so certain art things. And what she also did is always point out the beauty of nature. So always show like, hey, like a spider's web. Like she would always show like, hey, look at how it's designed and constructed by a spider and how much work went in there. Like those type of
Artist. Yeah.
those type of things. And music is just like I've been confronted with a lot of different genres, I think, throughout the years. Like just there wasn't anything wrong or something. Like it wasn't. I think my parents have never said to me that I couldn't listen to something because it sounded like for instance like rap music or something was pretty new back then and was like completely different, and everybody had an opinion about it, and I never heard an opinion from my parents about it. Like they just said, yeah, listen to it, just go ahead and listen to it. Like just music. Like
Yep.
so
Just another flavor. If you don't want it,
yeah,
don't
yeah,
put it
exactly.
in your song. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But I
That's
don't.
great.
Yeah, but I don't know that's something that I can think about. I think for the next couple of weeks, like made me this way. Don't know.
Luck.
Yeah. One of my own weak points is that I always think that because I am like this, other people are like this as well. Like everybody else.
Yeah. It's like, I'm playing at this high level. Why don't you play up here? Why are you undermining me? You know, it's like, because not everybody has the same standards.
Yeah.
But, you know, what you can give yourself credit for is the fact that this is how it makes you happy. This is what makes you thrive. And it could be the very thing that we're in sub groups of what the music industry is, because it sounds like to me when I read more books of how things really were that I would have been eaten alive out there.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, me too. Me too.
And,
I actually have a friend of mine who's actually doing all those top-notch multi-platinum recording, whatever. He literally said to me one time, like, yeah, I went to a recording session somewhere. He was called up and quick and blah blah blah, and he said, I just know that you would have walked out of that studio within 10 minutes. And then he described the situation. I said, you're absolutely right. I would have indeed walked out of that studio within 10 minutes because it was just, yeah.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
Well, that's just it. It seems like too that as soon as you decide who you are or take stock of where you're at, you can keep changing it. And you can certainly mold it and change yourself and make it better or more this or less that as you go. And we all do that naturally. But to do it consciously is really cool. And that's what I think that you're doing as well. And that's certainly why you met George. You know, it's like like is going to attract like, you know. And
yeah, when we do a session together, we don't even have to talk to each other.
I love that.
Yeah, we just know by just looking at each other what the answer is going to be to something.
Yeah. Like, how long have you known each other now?
I started in 2011 as an intern.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that you didn't take no for an answer. Hello, I'm here. I need to talk to you. You're the guy. What did you know about him prior? Was it just a studio that was close by, or did you really know his work and his ethics?
It was close by, and another student had done an internship, and he told me a few things about it. Like, he's doing a lot of things analog and stuff, and I was like, "Oh, that's very interesting. Let's try that." Like, yeah.
Had you had any successful internships prior to that?
Not as successful as this one. No.
Yeah, me neither.
I had an internship at a theater, and I had an internship at stage building, but that was never again. Like, yeah.
Too much construction.
Yeah, and also, just not my type of people that work in construction. They're way more tough, and yeah.
Yeah, I remember thinking, I'm so disappointed they don't have wood shop for women in high school. And then when my dad would do a lot of stuff around the house, I realized this is way too physical and rough. You know, like, I want to keep my touch and my hands good for guitars and things like that. I don't want to get all wood and splinters and rough, skin and all that stuff. And he was really cool because even within my houses, doing my own electrical outlets or putting in the exhaust fan and some of the things, if I needed something trimmed, I would say, "Oh, I'm going to get a saw." And he says, "You're a musician. I do not want you doing anything with any kind of an electrical saw ever. You just promised me that you never will."
Yeah.
So I'm glad that he taught me about that. I think the closest I came that he didn't know was that I had a Sawzall.
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes I'd even take care of some of the brush, and some of the little trees that were growing in the wrong place with the Sawzall. That's funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, so good. It's so good that you made these choices, and that you keep continuing to make these choices, and that you keep your head on right and care about these things. I think they're vitally important. And I know I don't know you and you don't know me, but I'm proud of you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
I love your channel, and I think you're doing really cool things, and I'm so happy that I got a chance to meet you today.
Yeah. I mean, I love doing these talks every once in a while, because it also makes me think. Like, it's just there's I think a mutual benefit to these talks. So
that's what I'm finding. I mean, for me, I even just started having them because there were friends that were further away that I haven't seen in a long time, and a couple that I had never met, just only through email. And I thought, if I'm not going to hop on a plane and I didn't go to the latest AES, why don't I just see if they want to chat, And they've become really fantastic adult company for me.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I need that.
And also, I don't like to go to trade shows in general. So
yeah, they're quite zooey. I went to one NAMM show back in '96. It was amazing, and it was mind-blowing because it's loud and bright, and you come home with 1 million free toys, and that's a blast. But I think one was plenty.
Yeah. No, I go to trade shows sometimes, but I don't like traveling.
Yeah, I don't like traveling.
It just messes me up. But I can do it. It's not that I'm incapable of doing stuff. And the second thing about trade shows, but that's more a personal thing, is that people recognize me, and that's amazing. But it also costs a lot of energy. So
yes. And then you don't have time to do what you went there for. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. And also expectations now for trade shows. Like, there is a trade show over here somewhere that contacted me if I wanted to do a seminar over there. And I've been thinking about it, and I'm like, I don't know what I can do in a seminar, what I cannot do on a video. So I'll probably make a video then.
It's harder. In fact, you can have them pay you to make a video and send the video to play at the trade show. That would probably be better. Then everything would be perfect.
Exactly. And it's easier to explain, and
get it exactly where you want it, and the balance between the vocal or the talking versus the equipment.
Yeah.
Everybody can see what you're doing because you've got a close-up camera on it. I think that would be the way to go.
Yeah.
And it would be less wear and tear on you.
Yeah. And then just be there in the audience.
Yeah.
Just to answer questions afterwards or something.
With a fake beard and mustache on. So put your hair up in a nice cap.
I actually did that on one trade show where I was just like, a bit done with all the popularity. I did indeed tie up my hair like this.
Nice.
I think I wore sunglasses, and a lot less people recognized me. So that was nice. Yeah,
that was great.
Also makes me realize that being famous is not something that I want. Like,
I know.
During a trade show, I can handle it, but if my whole life would be like that,
exactly.
No.
I say that all the time. If I live out in the woods and it's nice and quiet, and if there were 150 people on my lawn every day, I would lose my mind.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And I had a taste of that in the Beatle band I was in for 12 years. I would do a lot of shows in New Hampshire and Maine and all these different concert venues and outdoor summer concert events and gazebos and stuff. And you'd be stopped somewhere pumping gas.
Yeah.
And a guy would come up to me and go, "Oh my God, you're George. Oh my God, you're George." And you're like, "I'm just pumping gas, and I'm not George. I'm really me." And, all this stuff. And people want your autograph. And you go, "What name do I even sign here? What do they think they're doing?"
Yeah.
So then I buy a washer and dryer once from this guy, a used washer and dryer. And he says, "They'll last 5 years. I'll warranty them for 5 years." Well, 5 years nearly to the day, the heating coil goes on the dryer. So I call him up and he goes, "Hello?" I tell him who I am. He gets all quiet and weird. I'm like, "Well, are you still in business?" "Yeah." "Well, can you come fix the dryer sometime? Maybe even today, because I have a whole bunch of wet clothes in there." Yeah, I could come today." Like, why is he being so weird, right? He comes to the door. He goes, "Oh my God, it is you. You're famous. I follow your band everywhere." I'm like, "Oh, believe me, I'm not famous,
Yeah.
And he's like, he could barely come in the house, right? I'm like, "Go on, just go fix the dryer," right? So then the whole time he's trying to fix the dryer,
Yeah.
he's just like ogling at me or whatever the word is, Googling at me. He's just, I'm like, for God's sake, it's like my underwear is in there. Just fix the fucking dryer. Like it was so embarrassing and stupid. And I thought, is this what fame is? This sucks. Because really what I wanted was deeper conversation, and I wanted to be with other artists, and I wanted to have a connection with people who are really doing something that have integrity and really do it well, so that we can learn together and have fun together. And it's like, you would never have time for that because you would be busy being famous.
Yeah.
That's not being a musician, and that's not connecting with people. Teaching connects with people, having conversations, real conversations, that's what connects with people. I was like, oh. And still, there's a part of me, like a little kid, who thinks, "But I never got famous, but I never got rich, but I never got..." It's like, don't look at what you never got.
Comparison trap.
Absolutely. Compare yourself or to even who you were. I mean, sometimes if I wake up and I'm not inspired, I think, I don't know what I'm going to do today. It's like, are you insane? When you were 11 years old, you would have killed for this studio. Get to your studio and make stuff,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Same thoughts that I think, like, yeah.
Tell me more.
Yeah. Yeah, no, literally like that. Like sometimes I also wake up and I'm like, and then I think like, okay, when I was 16 years old, I wish I had the studio that I have right now. Like,
exactly.
It's literally the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah, and sometimes I get tired of me, or I get tired of hearing my thoughts, or the way I talk, or the practicing of trying to stay positive, because I read a book called Learned Optimism a bunch of years ago, and I find Paul McCartney to be a very positive guy, and he's always a million things that he's gone through, and I think yet he's risen above, so I'm always trying to reboot and keep myself sane and stuff, but some days it's tiring, and I think, well, I'll just take a nap.
Yeah.
Today's not the day to bolster. Today's the day to just rest.
I am quickly publishing a video now on YouTube. Like a new product just came out, and I knew about that. Nobody knew about that yet, but I just published a video about that. So
because it was on schedule and it just really just kicked in, or you just hit publish?
I just hit the button. Yeah.
Good for you.
Yeah. So
was that one of the new mini
500 series modules?
Series?
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. Actually, it was introduced in the vlog yesterday, but the vlog is a month behind, and today was the embargo date. So
wow. Okay. Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it takes that long to edit the vlogs, doesn't it?
Yeah, I just want to make a rhythm that I can sustain.
Yeah, yeah.
So editing is not that much work, but if I'm busy in the studio, I just want to
Right.
be able to do it a week later or 2 weeks later.
Yes.
And if you need to be on top of it, like release the day that you're filming, no, I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's cool. Well, this has been totally awesome, and I really appreciate your time and hanging with me. I've really
Thanks.
enjoyed it.
I actually have to run out and get food for my pet,
Which pet do you have?
a tarantula.
Ooh.
2 tarantulas actually. So.
I say I have 2 piranhas, but they're really miniature dachshunds.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
How long have you had a tarantula?
Oh, just a few months now. So.
What does it eat?
Crickets.
Only live ones?
Yeah, only live ones. So that's annoying. But one has been hiding him or herself. I don't know yet what it is. And
the cricket has been hiding from the tarantula?
No. The tarantula has been hiding. So that one is not going to eat. The other one was yeah, and the other one was molting. And now it's done. Like it's shedded its skin, and we're now 2 weeks further, so they're now able to eat again.
Oh.
And that one needs food. So yeah, and my crickets are like, how long can you keep crickets alive? So I got some new crickets. So that's what I'm going to do now. Just so you all know. I don't know if you all wanted to know it, but yeah.
It's the 500 series crickets. Gonna go get some more right now.
Yeah.
That's great. Cool. Wytse, thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem at all.
Take good care of yourself.
All right. Talk to you later.
Ciao.
Ciao.
Wytse, that was really cool. You're awesome. Thank you so much for joining me today. I love our overlapping similar passions. Love your channel on YouTube. You can visit Wytse Studios' website and YouTube channel. So many interesting, very helpful tips, fantastic training on recording and mixing, mastering, and you can hire Wytse to help you finish your projects. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Check out the shorts on Instagram and the full-length video if you want to watch on YouTube, my YouTube channel. Keep learning, keep growing, keep going after the things that feel fun. That's where the light is. Go to your studio and make stuff.